Moto Guzzi is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year with a few major upgrades on its models and a big party at its Italian factory in September. There are plenty of technical reviews on the bikes with performance, stats and numbers, but that's not really my thing. What I love about motorcycles is the design, the sound, the smell and the adventures they can take me on. What I love about motorcycling is how it makes me feel and the freedom that comes when you throw a leg over the saddle, whether you only have a few hours, a couple of days, or if you're very lucky, a little bit more time. It's that feeling of freedom, a place to focus on the task at hand, clear your mind and really get into a groove. If you're a biker, I'm pretty sure you know exactly what I mean. I've been very lucky to share some longer rides with some close friends, and those have been some of the very happiest times of my life. Sometimes you get lucky and meet with other like-minded folks, and that's just another bonus of being part of a fellowship of those that know the secrets of being on a bike. One of those people is my guest today, and I'll admit I was a little bit shy when I first met him at the Birmingham Motorcycle Show quite a few years back. He is a bit of a rock star after all, but he was so welcoming and just a straight up nice bloke to have a chat with. He's ridden his Moto Guzzis over 65,000 miles in the past 10 years. In 2012, he rode from England to Mongolia and back on an adventure that took 4 months. That trip was on a Stelvio, and he wrote a book about that. In 2016, he decided to change to the smaller V7, and he's been riding that for over 5 years on many trips from London to the Ukraine and many points in between. And he's written a book about that as well. In fact, he says he has 6 more books in a queue to be completed. And in the meantime, his articles on riding his V7 through Eastern Europe and Central Asia reach around 250,000 people annually. Yes, it's Derek Mansfield. Hello, Derek. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting me here.
You're more than welcome. Derek, let's jump straight in, shall we? People talk about Moto Guzzis as being unreliable. You've ridden yours for a very long time. Talk to me about reliability. Are they as bad as everybody says?
Well, first of all, I would advise anyone who buys a Moto Guzzi to download the manual, preferably the workshop manual, onto their phone. Then they can feel relatively safe, because most mechanics around the world can look at pictures and sort things out. As to reliability, the only time that my bike has gone wrong is when I've been fiddling. So if I put a new headlamp in, it tends to blow up after about 2 months. So then I have to put another one in. And then I find a motor electrician, and he says, "Oh, you've done this." Ah. And then, for example, I was coming back once from somewhere. I was travelling through Poland on a motorway, and the oil light came on. Now, that's not a problem. I've read it on the net. It is not a problem. So when it went bang, about another 10 kilometres further on, I thought, well, it's going to be all right. And then it went clank, clank, clank. And I managed to get myself off of the motorway and found I'd completely destroyed the engine. So sad. There was no oil in it at all, but according to the internet, it was fine.
Could we be saying that it's possibly operator error that causes a lot of unreliability issues with Guzzis?
In my case, about 95%, I would say. I know an awful lot of mechanics from here to Siberia and back.
The thing about Moto Guzzis that makes them so attractive is that they just look beautiful. What is it you think about? The current range looks fantastic. The V85, the new V7, they look stunning, don't they? Yes.
One word. Yes. The issue for me really, and the reason I chose Moto Guzzi, or particularly the V7 when I got round to that, is I had a kind of a whole change round in my psyche on why I was riding a V7, why I was riding a Guzzi, and while I was riding a V7. But the whole V7 thing is this, that I know I can go almost anywhere in the world, pull up, get off, and someone will come and talk to me. Just amazing. And I mean that. I don't think there's a country I've visited where that has not happened. And I have used it to find accommodation for the night, etc., etc. People will come up and they'll start talking and say, "What a beautiful bike." And I reply, "What a beautiful town. Do you know where I can stay?" "Ah," they say, "come and stay with us."
There does seem to be a big growth in heritage bikes. We've got the Triumphs, which look fabulous as well. The Royal Enfields are really making an impact, being best-selling bikes. But there's something about the Italian style, isn't there, that kind of carries it through.
There's also, for me anyway, the rarity value. Because, you can see a lot of Triumphs, and increasingly you see a lot of Royal Enfields and other, as you say, heritage bikes. But, there aren't that many Guzzis, at least in the UK. There aren't that many. In continental Europe, come to that. And I love the design, and I love the rarity value. And the rarity means I'm in an exclusive club of Moto Guzzi riders. So, what could be better?
Well, we are quite special.
Most certainly.
Derek, tell me a little bit about what you think the future is for Moto Guzzi, because they're obviously doing really well at the moment. They've got the Centenary, they've got quite a few bikes out, including the new 850 V7. Do you think they've got a good another 100 years to go?
Oh, well, it depends on their electric bikes more than anything else. There's always going to be a corner of the world where there'll be bikers tinkering with heritage-looking bikes. And there'll always be petrol available somewhere. So they will be going. But for Guzzi themselves, they really are on top of things at the moment. As long as they don't kind of overdo it. One of the issues for me is that it's very nice having an 850cc motorcycle. I haven't, mine's still a 750. But I've noticed in almost every brand, there is always this propensity to get bigger and go faster. And frankly, when you've been, if you ride the places I ride to, there is absolutely no point in being much bigger and much faster.
The 850's got more of a sound, Derek, that's what I'm thinking. Although I'm still on the fence about whether I need to upgrade to get some Mistral exhausts. I'm not quite sure yet, but they do sound nice, I think.
Well, that's all the pretty bits, isn't it, really? I've dumped, I'm not sure what my original pipes were, but I used some very cheap kind of shorty pipes like this, and I put them on. They go rusty after 6 months. I take them off and put another set back on. They sound like a tractor, a roaring, very fast, maybe Lamborghini tractor, but nonetheless they still have that kind of tractor roar.
A tractor with a lot of style.
Yeah. Precisely that. I think that's the thing about Guzzis. It is pure style. If you want to go fast, go on a track. That's okay with me, But I used to kind of, ride at speed, as it were. I just don't do that anymore. I want to get home, or I want to get going to where I'm aiming at, and I want to get there in one piece. So I'm at peace on a 750.
So Derek, that's a nice place to break, actually, because you'd like to get to where you're going, and you went to Mongolia in 2012. You've done lots of adventures. What triggered you to want to start travelling more extensively on your bikes, and why did you then get on and actually do it? A lot of us dream of it. You've actually done it and are still doing it.
Well, I have a very big advantage, David. I have an office. I have a little software company based in Kiev in Ukraine. So I used to commute there by aeroplane, which is desperately boring. And one year I had a Victory Vegas, one of those huge American motorcycles. And I thought, I'll just go down to Kiev on this. And with huge fear, huge trepidation, I got on the bike. I got to the channel, that was okay. I got off at the other end and turned right instead of left. And, 150 miles later, I realised I was following the wrong person because I'd never met the person I was following before. But how the hell was he going? Who knew? Anyway, so I went left, and finally I arrived about 4 days later in Kiev, and I loved every minute. Loved every minute. So what I did then is I went and saw people in the office, and we shook hands and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm just off for a little ride. And about 4 weeks later, I was in Syria. So, it happens. And I just look at these things, and I see Europe as a kind of, or the continent of all Europe, as one big map in my head. And I thought, well, I can go along here a bit for a couple of days and then turn right. And that's about what happens. And so this was on the Victory Vegas, and I got into Turkey, and I went down to through Turkey up to the Iranian border, and you turn right there, and you just follow the border all the way. There's a bit of Iraq hanging around there, Kurdistan, and then a bit further down you're in Syria. Oh, how did I get here? I thought, and then came back again. So I'm blessed because I had a reason to go originally, to go to my office. I'm also blessed because I can take time out and do this kind of stuff. My wife, I should tell you, David, is amazing. She lets me go every summer for 3 to 4 months. Just like that. I mean, you don't get better, do you, really? And what's even better is she as I'm about to go, without fail, every time she asks me if I've been to the toilet. This is at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting there waiting to go. And one other wonderful thing that she said, I have to tell you, she said, Derek, if you die out there, I know you'll die happy. Wow. Amazing.
What is it about the travelling that makes it addictive? Because it's quite clear that you've got a problem with this.
It's true, David. It's to be perfectly frank, it's people. First of all, there's the motorcycle, which I always look at as it's just romance. I sit on a motorcycle and I kind of go off into the sunrise or into the sunset or something like that, and constantly playing in my head is the whole romance of being alone and just travelling to suit myself. And then the thing is that it's the people I meet along the way, and the exchange of culture and this kind of stuff. And of course, people who I meet are as interested to find out of what life is really like in modern day Britain as I am interested in what their culture is and how it is in the modern day, and also their history, of course, as well. And I'm blessed in that I meet so many people, either just through chatting on the bike. I often meet people when I break down, dozens actually. And also I do something called couch surfing. There's a website called couchsurfing.com. Absolutely wonderful. And I've met so many brilliant people. And that's the reason I travel. To be honest, if I can find something on Google Earth, I'm probably not going to go there. I mean, I'm a tourist, certainly, but I don't like going to places which are full of tourists. I really don't like riding in cities or major cities, so I try and avoid those too where I can. I'm a bit more comfortable with it these days. But so basically, it's people I'm going to meet. I know that when I leave home, it's like being on a diving board. You walk along the diving board, you jump, you're in the air, oof, and you're off and swimming, and you're going to come up somewhere. And that's how it feels to me. I kind of come out of the water and there's new people, and it's life. It's just fabulous. I'm blessed. I'm so blessed.
So, Derek, let's have a chat about motorbikes and your adventures, shall we? You got onto the Stelvio. Why was that? What was it that got you onto a Moto Guzzi in the first place?
I met a man in a car park. I'd just come back from Syria on this victory, and I was all kind of black leather and torn T-shirts, that kind of stuff, And I met this guy in a car park, and he was wearing a kind of a full grey desert Touareg type suit, and he was on a Beamer, and he got electric everything everywhere, and I thought, wow, so this is what adventure motorcycling is about. And I thought, yes, but I mean, everyone's got that sort of motorbike. I'm not going to have one of those. So I had a look around, and there, in all its beauty, was the Stelvio, and I loved it. I loved the fact it didn't have a chain, and it didn't have a belt and stuff like that. So there was very little maintenance on it. They had very good write-ups, and I got on it, and my feet could touch the floor because I'm a bit stumpy. So my feet could touch the wow, and just amazing. And I went down to pick it up from Dorset. My wife followed me in the car, bless her, while she took me down there, because on the way back it broke down. But you know, that's how it is. I managed to get it back to the dealership, and he did something with the injection. I don't know what it was. And anyway, I was out there again. I tell you, being on the Stelvio for the first time, it was a different planet altogether. It was a parallel universe. I'd always ridden, kind of bikes that don't have screens and stuff like that. And suddenly there was this screen. And I was tripping down the motorway at, I have to say, an illegal speed. And the rain didn't touch me. And I just thought, wow, what is this? And also, a few months later, going through Germany, on the dial it says 140 miles an hour. I can promise you it does do 140 miles an hour. That's the only time I've ever stretched it, because it was an empty motorway and I felt safe doing it.
You were on the Stelvio. It's a great big bike. It's got the fairing and you're protected from all the weather. And then you went onto a V7 that doesn't have any of that. Why was that?
The charm, the sheer romance and charm of a heritage bike. And also the fact that I couldn't pick up the Stelvio anymore, and I dropped it in 14 countries. So, and I spent quite a lot of time sitting at the side of the road, meeting new people, waiting for them to help me pick up the bike, which unfailingly they did. I mean, even people older than me stopped, got out of their cars and helped. It's one of the stunning things actually about people when you travel. From Poland onwards, going east, if you're at the side of the road for more than about 5 minutes, someone will stop and they will approach you and say in English, "Can I help you?" It's just amazing. And that's happened all the way, I promise you, all the way from Poland to through Russia, through Siberia, Kazakhstan, just everywhere. People will stop and say, "Can I help you?" Just amazing. One of the things about that, though, it's one of the reasons why I ride alone. If you're with a whole bunch of people, you're going to self-support. You know, you're going to help each other, etc. And if you're with a bunch of people, you're going to be bikers, not a person. And if you're bikers, then no one really wants to talk to you en masse. When you're on your own, it's a different ballgame. Besides which, when you're travelling with other people, I find that John wants to go that way, Simon wants to go that way, someone else wants to go through the middle. They want to go and look at things at different speeds and, can't stand it. It's probably because I'm very selfish. I just want to do what I want to do. But it suits me.
Derek, you've written 2 books already. You say you've got 6 more in the pipeline. Tell me a little bit more about that. And you've got a very strange numbering system on those. Let's have a chat about that.
My first book was Notes from the Road, Volume 4. And it was Volume 4 because the previous year I'd done my 4th large ride, and I could long ride, and I could still remember it. So that's why I did Volume 4. And then that came out, and people said, "Well, you know, you've done kind of Kazakhstan and Mongolia and Siberia and stuff. Why don't you do a book on that?" So, okay, I'll do it. So that was Volume 3. And I've got a lot of other journeys I've done. I've been doing this since about 2010. So there's lots of other books to put in there. After Siberia, really, and Mongolia, that's when I came back from that. That's when I got the V7, and the books from then onwards, which is kind of volume 5, are really very much people books. So I talk about motorcycles obviously because I'm on one, but it's really about the countries, the culture, actually travelling, meeting people, what it smells like. It's really getting in deep to the countries I went to. I've been in every country from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific, apart from, I think, Liechtenstein, and I've got no interest in going there at all. So I do have quite a lot to set down. And the other reason I love writing is because I love writing, and I like to encourage other people to do the same as I do, to journey on, but be respectful about who you meet and where you are.
Well, Derek, I very much hope to see you in Mandello in September. I'm hopefully going with a buddy of mine. I might even persuade him to buy a Moto Guzzi. I'm kind of working on it at the moment. But very much look forward to seeing you sometime on the road, be it in Italy or in the UK. Derek, thank you so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
David, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.